So the first thing to learn about jQuery is how to actually embed it in our web pages so that we can use it. So let's find out how to do that. I'm going to go back to my websites folder and create a new folder for my jQuery chapter. And then I'm going to load up the index.html file from the JavaScript chapter and just copy it over. So I've got something to work from. Let's get rid of that. So I'm just going to save as in the desktop, my websites, jQuery, and we'll keep it as index.html. Okay, just clean things up a little bit. Get rid of the content. And now we've just got a plain HTML file, and we'll change the title to Learning jQuery. Great. So hopefully you remember from the last chapter how to embed a JavaScript script file into a web page. I'll pause briefly for a moment for you to type that out for yourself. Give it a go. Okay, hopefully you typed something like script type equals text / JavaScript src equals something. We'll figure out what that is in a minute. And then close script. Okay. Now, there are two ways to embed jQuery into our pages. One of them is to link to jQuery Now, there are two ways to embed jQuery in our web pages. One of them is to download jQuery from the jQuery website. Big orange button here, download jQuery. There are two major lines of jQuery, the 1.x line and the 2.x line. Generally, I'd recommend going for the 1.x line because that has further back support for Internet Explorer than the 2.x line. But as time goes on, we'll gradually move over from the 1.x line to the 2.x line. But they both work very similarly, so it really doesn't matter that much which one you choose. So you can download the latest version from here. Let's try that out. So we'll download the compressed production version. You only really need the uncompressed version if you actually want to look at the code of jQuery itself. If you don't, then downloading the compressed version is likely to be better for you because it will be faster. Okay, so there it is. That is jQuery, that code there. We're not going to go into how the code works or anything like that. We don't need that. All we need is how to install it on our system. So I'm going to save page as, and then go back to my desktop, my websites, jQuery. And you can see it's come up with a file name there. I'm going to simplify that a little bit and just call it jQuery.min.js. Save. And then all I need to do is type in here jQuery.min.js. And that's it. So now I have jQuery in that web page. The other way to do it that I mentioned is actually to link to the versions on jQuery's website or on Google's website. Google actually have a store for jQuery and various other JavaScript frameworks that you can link to directly if you like. I've got the URL saved in memory here, and that's what it is. So code.jquery.com and jQueryLatest.min.js. You can do it either way around. There are advantages and disadvantages. If you use your own piece of code, then obviously you're sure that you've got the version that you downloaded, whereas this version here will always get the latest version of jQuery. So if you want to be sure that you're using a specific version, then probably downloading it is a good idea. However, generally speaking, you're probably going to want to use the latest version, so this might work well for you. You don't have to manually download the new version when it's released. Another advantage of doing it this way is that the jQuery website will probably be slightly faster than yours, so the code will download slightly quicker. Also, it's likely that the user has been to other websites that use jQuery that might have already caused the user to download this jQuery file, and that means that it will already be on their machine, so they won't need to download it again. So that means that the loading of your site will be slightly faster than it would have been if they had to download jQuery from your website. So those are the choices, and really you can choose either one. We'll go for a local store for the moment, mostly because we're working offline here. I'm not actually, or I don't need to be connected to the internet if I've got a local version of the jQuery file. Right, now if I want to actually check that jQuery is installed, how do I do that? It hasn't actually had any impact on my page as yet. Well, let's get this page showing in Chrome and see what it actually looks like. There we go. So at the moment it's a completely empty page because there's no content at all. Whoops. Okay. So we can use a simple if command to work out whether or not jQuery is actually running. And there's a variable called jQuery. And that variable will only exist if jQuery is running. So let's just test that out. So if jQuery, alert, jQuery is installed. Brilliant, jQuery is installed. That's working, fantastic. And just to make sure that that is in fact working, if I remove that script and refresh the page, we don't get that alert. So it is definitely recognizing that jQuery is installed. However, there is a problem with this script as it stands. If I want to actually have an option to do something if jQuery is not installed, so maybe I want to alert that fact, so jQuery is not installed. So if I now run that, I get jQuery is installed, because it is. If I remove that line, nothing happens. Now have a quick think. Why do you think that is? Why are we not getting the jQuery is not installed pop-up? Did you get it? Well, the problem is this jQuery variable only actually exists if jQuery is installed. So if jQuery is not installed, this variable doesn't exist, which means that the script will actually give an error and it won't run at all. So let's pop jQuery back in there for the moment. A nice way around that is to use the type of jQuery function. Sorry, it's a JavaScript function, not a jQuery function. So the type of function allows us to examine a variable and see what type it has, and the type of function will work even if that variable doesn't exist. So for example, I can say if type of jQuery is not equal to undefined. So that's just a way of using JavaScript to find out whether or not a variable is actually defined. So if jQuery is not undefined, then it must be installed. Let's see if that works. Great, it works. Now what happens if we now remove the jQuery from our code? We get the jQuery is not installed pop-up. Brilliant. So that's a very useful trick. If you want to find out if a variable actually is defined without breaking the code of your website, then use the type of variable and use a setup like this, saying if type of your variable is not equal to undefined, then your variable exists.